So we're going to start by defining what the median is. You know, when you start driving, they tell you to watch out for the median. The median is where the road splits into traffic going one way and the other. It's that middle part. That's the median. And in statistics, it's kind of the same thing. It's basically the middle value. Of an ordered, this is going to be important, set of data. So I'm going to highlight the fact that it has to be ordered from least to greatest or greatest to least, usually least to greatest. You want to make sure the numbers are in order. Whatever that middle value is, that's the median. It's usually going to either be a number that's within the data, one of the actual numbers, or the difference between two of the numbers. We'll look at that in a bit. All right, the mode, M-O-D-E. Let's talk about that. It's basically the data value that comes up the most. The data value that comes up the most. All right, and the range. So there's a couple of definitions in math for the range, but the one we want for statistics in this case is the difference between the largest and the smallest data value. The difference between the largest and smallest.
Nice.
Data values. Okay. So when we're using the word difference, what does that tell us we're going to do? Yeah, some subtraction. Basically, you take your largest value and your smallest value, subtract them. That's going to be the range. Okay? All right. So I think what we'll do is we'll just practice. We'll do 3 examples where we'll find the mean, median, mode, and range for a set of data. Okay? So we'll do that. So it's find the 3 M's, the mean, median, mode, and range for each set of data. Okay. All right. So let's get some data. Here are some numbers for you to consider. So the numbers are 100, 94, 92, 91, and 94. That makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Okay. So the first thing we're going to find is the mean. Okay. So for this, we're going to add up these numbers, but I think we'll kind of do two things at once, because we're also going to want to sort the numbers out from least to greatest. So as we're listing them, the numbers that we're adding, why don't we put them in order? What's my smallest number here? So I'm going to write 91, and then we're going to add to it 92, and then 94 twice. And then finally 100 is the largest. So we're going to add all those numbers, find the sum, and divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Divide it by 5. Okay, so if I add those numbers, turns out it's 471. And we'll divide that by 5. Okay. And that's going to give us an answer of 94.2. So that is the mean. That's the average. And all of that, any one of us can do, because, we have access to a calculator. This isn't a class where I'm asking you to do long division or anything like that. We just want to know how to use those tools. So it's 94.2. Okay. Now, what's the next thing we have to find? We found the mean. Next, we're going to find the median. Okay, the median. So for the median, we did most of the work already, because we already have the numbers in order. And if we have the numbers in order, what we basically have to do is find the middle value, right? It's the data value that the middle data value. So which number in this sorted list is the middle number? That first 94, look, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. If I go to the third number, 1, 2, 3, if I go to this number, I got 2 numbers below it, 2 numbers above it. That makes 94 the middle number, that first 94. Okay? So 94 is the median, or is the middle number. So 94 it is. It's that easy. Where it gets a little tricky is, if you notice, we had an odd number of numbers, right? So if you have an odd number, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, etc. One of the numbers in your data is always going to be in the middle. But if you have an even number of numbers, you're going to have something in between those numbers that's going to be the middle number. So we'll look at what happens to that next, in the next example. But when it's an odd number, super easy. It's whatever number is in the middle. Any questions? It's easy, right? Okay. Well, what's even easier is finding the next thing that we have to find. And the next thing that we have to find is the mode. What's the definition for the mode? Okay. So which number came up the most? In this case, twice. 94 came up 2 times. That's enough to make it the mode, the most likely number to come up. Okay? So over here for mode, we're going to write 94 because it came up the most. Okay? And we only have one thing left to find, and that is the range. That's easy to find. It's the difference between the smallest, between the largest and the smallest. So we're going to look for the largest number in our data, the smallest number in the data, and subtract them, and that's going to be the mode. I should write down here that 94 came up the most. Since it's our notes and we need to know these things. Okay, so for the range, take your largest number, 100, subtract away your smallest number, 91. That's going to give us 9. That's the range. The numbers range, so the separation between the largest and smallest was 9 values. And you get it from subtracting the smallest from the largest. So there are the important values for this set of data. You notice that most of them are 94, the 3 middles, 94.2, 94, and 94. That actually tells us that the data is not too separated apart. It's very close together. Okay? Any questions? Okay, that was pretty easy. On the next example, it's going to get a little tougher because we're going to have an even number of data values. So finding the median is going to be just a little bit trickier, not very much. Okay? So if you're ready, let's move on to number 2. Number 2. So these are the data values for number 2. We've got 74, 80, 77, 72, 80, and 73. So go ahead and write those down. That's the data. And so the first thing we're going to find is the mean. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. Let's put those numbers in order. Okay. So we want to look for our smallest number. 72. Okay. And then we'll add 73. 74. 77. And then 80 comes up twice. So there's all the numbers. And we want to find the sum and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 values, so we'll divide by 6. So that turns out to be 456 divided by 6. Okay? And when we simplify 456 divided by 6, it's 76. So this is our mean. The average is 6. Average is 76. All right. So we're going to move on to find the median. Okay. So for the median, let's look at our data that's already sorted out that we added up there. And we want to find the number in the middle. But since it's 6, the middle is basically right here where we have 3 above and 3 below, right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two numbers, 74 and 77, and we're going to average them out. Okay? So median. Since we have an even number, take the two numbers in the middle, the 74 and 77, add them up, and divide that by 2. We're going to find the average of the two middle numbers. Okay? So if I add 74 and 77, that's 151. Oops. Fix that. 151. And we'll divide that by 2. And that turns out to be 75.5. Because we wanted what was halfway between 74 and 77. And we did it mathematically. But you can also do this like thinking of a number line. Let's say this is 74 on a number line. And here is 75 and 76 and 77, right? And we want halfway between those two numbers. What's halfway between the 75.5? You could do it by using a number line like I just did, or just add the two numbers, divide by 2. Any questions? Okay. So the moral of the story is, if you have an odd number of numbers, it's actually going to be pretty easy finding the middle number. It's one of the numbers in the data. If you have an even number, well, you're probably going to have to do this. Unless you get lucky and what happens on the last example we do comes up. But we'll see that in a moment. Most of the time, you got to do this. Add the two numbers in the middle, divide by 2. Easy enough, especially if you have a calculator. All right, so let's write that down. The median was 75.5. Okay, let's find the mode. It's the number that came up the most. Which number came up the most? 80. Definitely 80. 80 came up 2 times right there. Every other number came up once. Okay, so 80 came up the most. Oops. I'm telling you. I'm running on like 3 hours sleep and it's showing. Okay. Let's find the range. All right. What do I have to find the difference of to find the range? So 80 take away 72. How much is that? What's 80 minus 72? 8. So there's 8 numbers between the largest and smallest number. That's the range of numbers. Okay? All right. So, last one. Let's look at the last question. Number 3. So the data here, we got a bunch of decimal numbers. 3.4, 3.6, 3.4 again, 3.5, 3.6, my bad. I'm sorry. This was 3.5. Sorry about that. It was 3.4, 3.5, 3.5. Yeah, this one should be 3.5. Then 3.8. 3.6. And 3.5. So those are all the numbers. And the first thing we're going to find is the mean. So we have to add these numbers. Okay, so let's see. The smallest number is 3.4. That happened 2 times. Thank you. So we had 3.4 twice. Then we have some 3.5s. 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. So 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. And then we have 3.6 2 times. And then just 3.8 once. Thank you. Okay, so that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So we'll divide by 8. And that turns out to be 28. I'm sorry, 28.3. And we'll divide that by 8. And if we divide that, 28.3 divided by 8, we get 3.5375. Whew. So doing the division, we get 3.5375. All right, I'm going to round this. Let's round it to the nearest hundredth, to this place. So that means I got to take a look at this 7. So does this become 3.53 or 3.54? 3.54. The 7 tells us to increase the number in the 10th place. So that's going to be 3.54. Okay. So there we go. We found the mean. Let's find the median. Okay, again, that's going to be the number in the middle. We got 8 numbers, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere here. It's between these two numbers, right? If you notice, there's 4 numbers this way and 4 numbers that way. So it's in between 3.5 and 3.5. So what's the median? It's 3.5, right? In this case, both numbers that are adjacent are the same, so that means the middle is that 3.5. Okay? So we got lucky there. The median is 3.5 because the halfway point between 3.5 and 3.5 is 3.5. Okay. Well, what else do we have to find? The mode. What's our mode number? 3.5 also? Wow. Let's see. That means it came up the most. Once, twice, 3 times, 3 times. So 3.5 came up the most. So it's the mode. Okay. I don't think 3.5 is going to be the range though. To find the range, we're going to take 3.8 and subtract away 3.4. So what's 3.8 minus 3.4? 0.4, thank you. So what separates the largest from the smallest number? 4/10. 0.4. 0.4. Now, today's assignment is only having you find the median, the middle number. Tomorrow we are going to be finding all of it, but I figured let's get the notes out of the way. Tomorrow we are going to do a Kahoot on mean, median, mode, range, and then there's an assignment on all of that. Okay? So that is the assignment.